Hello art lovers! Welcome to my free drawing tutorial channel. In this video, the third part of this 6-part series, we draw facial features. You can download the image file from the Telegram channel in the description. Like the previous designs, we have drawn the initial lines. To draw the nose, first we go to the darkest part, such as the nostrils, and draw it with a charcoal pencil. Drawing the nose is mostly done with shadows. You need to have acquired the necessary skills to draw shadows. I use a rough, flat brush, number 10, to both soften the dark texture and use the same darkness to draw the shadows around the nostrils. Now, I draw the shadows around the nose with a filbert brush number 6. I use the charcoal pencil, filbert brush, and flat brush simultaneously to draw the shadows around the area. We need to draw the darks and highlights of the entire work. I create the initial volume of the nose by drawing the darks and highlights and the curves that I draw in the shadows. In the areas where the shadows are very dark, I use a charcoal pencil to help me create more blackness. A hard, flat brush creates a very soft texture, so when I use a charcoal pencil to darken, I use this brush to help soften those darks. For smaller areas, I use a number 8, and for larger areas, a number 10, and sometimes a number 12. In the next step, I draw the shadows from dark to light using a filbert brush. And after adding the dark and light shadows, I shade them with a flat brush. I draw the shadows under the nose and behind the lips as I see them. Look at the original photo and draw according to it. I gradually move up and use the same tool. In the areas where there are darker textures, I use a filbert brush. Note that when I want to create darkness, I lay the filbert brush on the paper, but when I want to create textures, I place the brush vertically on the paper. For the upper parts of the nose, I also use a hard, flat brush, number 10. I dip the brush into the charcoal powder, but first I test it on the paper so that it does not create too much darkness. With this brush, I shade the paper in a circular motion and create light gray. And in the next step, I draw darkness and dark textures with the filbert brush. If you have trouble drawing these textures and creating shadows, be sure to go back to the previous videos and practice exercises such as shading and contrast, and drawing spheres, cylinders, and cones more. I check the shadows again and make sure the shadows and highlights are right. It is always important to check the shadows and highlights again and again, and it will help you improve the quality of your drawing. So remember to go back and check them again and again, and make them better if needed. Now that I have drawn the dark shadows, I move on to the grays and highlights using a pencil eraser and a paste eraser. I use a pencil eraser in the areas where I see smaller textures and a paste eraser in the areas where I see bright halos and soft, bright highlights. You may find that the highlights become a little lighter than you want when you use the eraser, so you can darken them again until you get the lightness and darkness you want. You can create a new layer of darkness again with the charcoal pencil. I also use a mechanical eraser for the bright linear lights, and I use a blender to draw the dark textures. At this stage, I add the skin textures on the nose. To create the skin textures, I use a soft flat brush, number 0, a blender, a pencil eraser, and a mechanical eraser. It is very important to create these details with delicacy. If you have executed the darks and shadows with quality, but create the highlights with thickness and carelessness, the beauty of your work will be lost. So do this carefully and patiently, and do not rush. And in the last stage, I use an electric eraser for very bright lights. Finally, in places where I want the lights to be clear and not too sharp, I use a paste eraser and check the shadows and highlights again. Practice these basic designs over and over again until you become completely professional. You will need these skills when drawing large paintings and realistic faces, so practice well. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video and leave me a comment. Good luck, my friend.